Well, to France now, and the trade unions have provisionally announced another general strike and a call to protest on Thursday, the 2nd of October this after a meeting with the Prime Minister Sebastien Lecornu, in which union leaders say he provided, in their words, no clear response to the expectations of the workers that they represent. Let's take a listen to what the trade unions said.
The Prime Minister did not provide any clear answers to the expectations of workers. We specifically wanted to see the initial drafts of both the main budget and the social security budget, which we did not receive. So for the unions, this is a missed opportunity.
And for more on this, I'm joined on set by France 24's Antonia Kerrigan. Hi, Antonia. So the unions saying no clear response. What exactly do they want?
Well, last Thursday, there was a general strike and major protests across France. The unions say they mobilised 1 million people. The authorities say 500,000. But regardless, the unions consider that those numbers put them in a position of strength. So on Friday, they issued an ultimatum with 5 days for the Prime Minister to respond. Their demands included that the Prime Minister go back on the pension reform, bring that retirement age back down to 62, that he abandon his predecessor's plans of austerity, and that he introduce higher taxation on large fortunes, high incomes, and as well that he condition the 211 billion euros of state aid issued to private companies, that he condition that money on their social and environmental practices. None of these measures are particularly in the political vein of the centre-right Prime Minister that Sebastien Lecornu is. However, this is a Prime Minister with a parliament that's broadly against him. We still know very little of his plans, even though he's been in office for more than 2 weeks. But what we know is that the unions emerged from this meeting today not at all satisfied. He didn't meet their demands within the time frame that they set. They've called for an additional protest movement and a day of striking. And all the left-wing parties have joined that call to protest. That's the France Unbowed, the Socialists, the Communists and the Greens. So the pressure is piling on the new Prime Minister.
And in the meantime, there is a closed-door meeting this afternoon with the Employers' Federation. What should we expect from that?
Well, needless to say, their agenda is pretty much the opposite of what I just described as the union's agenda. They are extremely opposed to the ideas currently being discussed about a so-called Zuckman tax. That's a tax on 2% tax on households with a net worth over 100 million euros. They have described such ideas as dangerous for French business. They also oppose the rollback of the pension reform, and they are threatening or promising an enormous meeting, in their words, in the days to come of employers. Now, of course, we'll have to see what kind of clout that carries, if they emerge also more reassured from their meeting with the Prime Minister than the unions were. Another thing they'll be very cautious about that they won't want to see is major instability in France, because that's, of course, typically bad for business. But once again, they are, the Prime Minister is faced with these two camps with opposing demands.
And we've had this new Prime Minister, Sebastien Lecornu, for around 2 weeks now. He has been involved in numerous consultations. He has said very little about what has emerged from those consultations. There is, as yet, no sign of a government. What are we to make of all this?
Well, when he arrived, pretty much the last time we heard him speak, he promised a break with his predecessors in method, form and substance. Very open to interpretation. The method is different from his predecessors in that he hasn't been speaking very much to the public, and he's been holding a huge number of consultations, whereas, of course, François Bayrou, his final days in office were essentially a media blitz. And the current Prime Minister has been holed up in his prime ministerial residence, holding meeting after meeting. The idea is to put, as it were, what before who, to choose the policy that he will be able to rally a majority behind, or at least avoid parliamentary censure over, and then find the government to carry that policy forwards. But that leaves everyone guessing exactly what the kind of policy that will be. how free an electron is this Prime Minister, who is extremely close with President Macron. We know there's a lot of support, for instance, among the French people for higher taxation of the largest fortunes as a way of closing this deficit that's apparently the number one priority, certainly according to the last Prime Minister. We know there's a huge amount of support from the people, but it certainly isn't in keeping with the Emmanuel Macron political brand. But again, this is a Prime Minister that needs to please the socialists, at least just enough that they will abstain from toppling him. So today was supposed to bring a bit more clarity on what that agenda is going to be. Fair to say it hasn't, but there's another strike to come next week, so there's certainly going to be a lot more to follow on this story.
OK, Antonia, and a looming budget deadline as well. Antonia Kerrigan there with the lowdown on ever-evolving French politics.